It's great to see so many faces here again today that were here last November for our inaugural BIM MEPOS forum. It's fair to say in November we had quite a broad outline of what we knew the problem for BIM in this country was, but we didn't have a firm direction on what we needed to do moving forward to achieve the success that our industry needs. There has been a lot of hard work go on in the last 9 to 10 months, and I think you'll see the fruits of that hard work today in a number of the presentations. And I think today's numbers, we've had, last November we had 200 people attend. Today we've had 260 paying attendees, is validation that BIM MEPOS is heading in the right direction and is garnering industry support. So before we get into the day, I thought, especially for those people that weren't here last November, it would be good to set the scene. What was the problem? And the problem was that there was a lot of confusion about what BIM is, or what BIM was, and what the definition of BIM was to various people in the supply chain. There was certainly a thought that BIM may be just another passing fad, and we've seen plenty of those in the construction industry over the last 20 years. Or was it really an emerging technology that could transform our industry? And the third thing, and probably the largest question we had to answer, was BIM really delivering the economic benefit to contractors, specialist subcontractors, and most important, to our valued clients at the end of the day. So they were the problems, but you have to ask the question before we get to the solutions of why was BIM in this country in this position? And certainly from our discussions with AMCA members, the supply chain and other disciplines in the building services sector and construction sector, what we found was that there was a large divergence in the uptake of BIM and the adoption of BIM in the industry. Not only from company to company, but within different organisations. You get a different result depending on who you spoke to in the same organisation. We had an industry going in a lot of different directions. And I suppose when you're looking for a competitive advantage, everyone wants to rush off and try and be the market leader, especially in emerging technologies. But what we found was that the industry was working in silos and that we weren't really addressing some of the fundamental issues to making BIM successful in this country. Given the amount of software vendors in the audience, I'm a bit reluctant to put this up, but I say it unashamedly. One of the other problems we had with BIM in Australia was that there were software spruikers selling solutions and technologies that really weren't fully developed for this country. And I think that was clearly acknowledged by a number of our participants and speakers at last year's forum. And for those that have been involved in BIM projects, one of the clear problems we had was that BIM was being specified as a project deliverable, but it was very open-ended. Once again, there was confusion about what BIM meant, and it can mean a whole host of different things. And what this led to was early adopters of the technology were getting burnt and reluctant to re-engage with BIM on the next project, or what we have seen happening with those projects that are continuing to be specified with BIM, significant additional costs are being added to the tender price to deliver BIM. Certainly doesn't go with the true philosophy of delivering an economic value of BIM. We also found that there was a clear lack of standards in relation to software content and model development within Australia. And a number of contractors, particularly specialist contractors, were developing their own libraries and models without any standards attached to them. There was the quest for the holy grail on early BIM projects, the quest for the perfect solution to workflow and metadata integrity via IFC and integrated project models. And that has caused a lot of problems. There was a distinct lack of workflow solutions for the dominant BIM software enabling products available in this Australia to the building services sector. And, you know, once again, unashamedly we say that they are Revit and TSI. It's a fact. There are other software products that are quite powerful, but in this sector, they are the dominant players. And at AMCA, we believe that part of the biggest problem in the industry was that there was a lack of leadership in the construction sector to provide a unified voice and solutions to these problems. Excuse me. So what have we done in the last 10 months? First and foremost, AMCA has taken a leadership position and is engaged with a large part of the construction industry via a steering committee and a steering project group to provide an industry-based solution. The focus has been on developing practices for the industry to abide to, developing standards around model content so that everyone's developing models in the same way with the same type of data and the same type of standards. And also providing workflow solutions. And what I mean by that, you know, one of the fundamental premises of our initiative when we started was that it would be vendor independent, i.e. we have not received $1 from any software vendor in this initiative, but unashamedly we also realised that we had to focus, as I said earlier, on the elephant in the room, if you like, and that's provide workflow solutions that weren't available at that time to Revit and TSI and get those workflows working for the specialist building services sector. We have communicated the problem and our industry solution widely to government. We have made numerous representations in Canberra to ministers, advisors, and on both sides of the house. And whilst we are getting the message, and we tend to get a lot of nodding, when you're doing this in an environment of a government trying to get a carbon tax through, we don't get too much leverage at the moment, I must say. But government are engaged. As you may remember, we had Sue Holliday as a keynote speaker from the Built Environment Innovation Industry Council last November, and Sue has thrown her full support behind this initiative. The steering group that has been meeting sometimes every fortnight and every month has created 9 subcommittees to develop our industry solution, BIM Oz. And those subcommittees focus on best practice guides, and in that group we're going to be looking at things like best practice spatial coordination, BIM execution plans, and big room specifications. We've got a standards subcommittee, a duct and pipe subcommittee, a model development standards subcommittee, an accessory subcommittee, a marketing subcommittee which has done, I must say, an incredible job with the BIM Oz website, and you'll be seeing a demonstration of that today, and an accreditation and certification subcommittee. I suppose most importantly, and it can't be forgotten, that AMCA has contributed $150,000 of hard cash into this initiative and approximately $300,000 of value in kind in the last 12 months. So a lot of work's been done. There are a number of other significant organisations on the steering committee that have also contributed a lot in value in kind to the initiative, and we'd like to thank them for that. But there is a long way to go. from a financial perspective to deliver our aspirations. We've engaged with the supply chain to develop a model for how specialist equipment and consumer product suppliers can develop their libraries and models and then have them tested to a standard. We, over recent months, have worked very closely with the Pump Industry Association and developed a model standard for pumps, and once again we'll see a demonstration on this today. We have delivered BIM awareness training programs throughout the country, particularly in WA, South Australia, Victoria and New South Wales, with Queensland to come shortly. We have commenced work with specialist software vendors to develop content to the BIM MEP Oz standards. And we've developed real-world practical solutions for the two dominant BIM enabling software platforms represented in the building services sector in Australia, being Revit and the TSI CAD-Duct CAD-MEC programs. And importantly, the initiative is called BIM MEP Oz, being mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and we have started to communicate with the other associations and industries, particularly the electrical, plumbing, fire and lifts industry, and have their in-principle support for the development of BIM MEP Oz. So as in any forum, everyone's sitting there knowing they've got to be here for the next 8 hours. What are we going to get today? Andrew Craik is going to take us through the BIM MEP Oz website and show us some of the things that the website will deliver to industry as we move these standards and best practice guidelines forward. Warwick Stannis is going to give us an overview of the BIM MEP Oz solution and the model workflow. Duncan Sharp and Albert Watson will take us through the modelling standards and give us a demonstration on how those standards work in a real-life situation. Warwick Stannis and Jeff Thew will take us through the supplier workflows and what we call managed content demonstration. Ben Lee, on behalf of the Pump Industry Association, will take us through the case study on, as I talked before, on the pump models. Jim Rees from TSI will give us a demonstration of one of the workflow solutions that we've been working with TSI and Revit with closely, and where that solution is up to for the marketplace. We have David Grant from ShorePoint in Australia and John Inham from Trimble that are going to speak to BIM to site solutions, which we're now starting to see on some of the major sites in Australia. And we have our first keynote speaker, Mr. Paul Nunn from Tees Contractors, who's going to give a head contractor or builder's perspective on what BIM has been in this country, and certainly the experience that Tees has had over the last couple of years. Paul King from Bentley will talk to us about BIM execution plans, what makes them good and what makes them bad, the good and the bad with them, and also give us a demonstration of the Bentley Project Y solution. Robert Philpott from Aconex will talk about collaborative BIM and also provide a demonstration on what Aconex is doing and moving forward in conjunction with AMCA BIM MEP Oz initiative to deliver collaborative BIM on the Aconex platform. Carl Agar of NDY will go through project BIM IT guidelines, what it actually takes to deliver a project from an IT perspective in BIM. And I'm pleased to say we have, like we did last year, we have another keynote speaker from our friends in the US, Mr. Mike Canestraro. Welcome, Mike. Mike's travelled a long way to be with us for a very short time, and we appreciate that, Mike. And Mike's going to give us the USA perspective, but more importantly, as a mechanical and well, an MEP contractor in the United States, give us some real-world examples of what Canastraro have been doing for the last 7 years with BIM in their organisation. Rob Malcolm's going to give us a brief presentation. I always have to say brief when I get a software vendor up here, otherwise they'll be here all day, about what Autodesk's vision for BIM MEP is, and most importantly, during that presentation, we'll have a video hookup with one of the Vice Presidents of Autodesk from the States, supporting the BIM MEP initiative. And finally, I'll be back here to close the forum and talk about what the implementation plan moving forward is. So enjoy the day. It's going to be a lot of information, hopefully a bit of enjoyment in there too, and we keep you stimulated. And once again, thanks for your attendance.